It's The Herd on ESPN Radio. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, simulcast on ESPN. Nick Saban, Peter King, and I will unveil in a little over 1 hour. I will unveil my NFL wins and loss total. I'll line up. I'll give you a reason for teams. I'll line up, put it in the archive. My preseason NFL prediction. I do it every summer. This year we've had so much NBA free agency news. NBA season extended, the finals. We've had some big stories where I pushed it off a couple weeks. I usually do it beginning of July. Now it's late July. But I'll give you my NFL predictions. It'd probably be safer to do it in a month when I know all the injuries. But it's fun. It's a Tuesday. It's football. Let's do it. Speaking of football, I was just on SportsCenter. And one of the topics that came up is Tony Dungy, guy I like, guy I know, says he would not have drafted Michael Sam being the publicly gay NFL player, not because of Sam's sexual orientation, but because Tony Dungy said he wouldn't want to deal with all the issues surrounding the first openly gay player in the NFL. Whoa, that is really, really harsh, said Tony Dungy. I wouldn't have taken him. Not because I don't believe Michael Sam should have a chance to play, but I wouldn't want to deal with all of it. It's not going to be totally smooth. Things will happen. That's not hateful. No hate there. Not saying he doesn't support gay marriage. In fact, I believe he won an award while coaching in the league for being a strong Christian and supportive of gay marriage. But he wouldn't necessarily in his locker room, men only, locker room, machismo industry, want to deal with that distraction. For the record, I'm anti-Johnny Manziel. Distraction. I've always been anti-Tim Tebow. Distraction. But why can't a coach say, Michael Sam, not the gay thing, the distraction thing, and suddenly he's a hate monger? As Bill Maher at HBO said, these social situations, people grow at different speeds. Our military has struggled with openly gay soldiers. Our president, very progressive guy, Barack Obama, was not exactly pro-gay marriage 3 years ago. Some states, about 30, are wrestling with it. It takes time. It's new. It's difficult for people. Our country's largely been founded, our thought on the Bible. People struggle with this. It's not hate speech. There's a big difference between saying I'm not comfortable yet with something or a distraction and being hate speech. First of all, Michael Sam dropped to the 7th round. Okay, 7th round. 31 of 32 teams passed on him multiple times. Tony Dungy's not alone. He said it won't be smooth. Things will happen. He's right. Number two, I'm hearing a lot of this. Well, Michael Vick, Dungy lobbied for him. He was incarcerated. Yes, that's not new. In the current NFL ecosystem, dealing with incarcerated athletes, that's old news. Dealing with a guy who kissed his boyfriend during the draft in a locker room full of 21-year-olds, often Baptist, Southern, a little different. Again, in the current ecosystem, the Ravens had 5 players arrested this offseason, one team. 19 current players arrested this offseason in the NFL. It is easier to deal with incarceration because teams have been dealing with it for 30 years. They've never dealt with this. Say the words out loud. Gay, publicly, boyfriend, kissing, draft, cake in face, football, all-male locker rooms, often gay, often naked. Different. It's new, it's fresh. It's uncomfortable right now, today, this moment, for NFL coaches. They don't know what to do with it. In a year, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th openly gay player, non-issue. Today, military struggle with it. Our states are struggling with it. Why can't Tony Dungy say it would be a distraction? But he supported gay marriage earlier. Yes, I support adoption. I'm for adoption. Vince, on my staff, an adoptive parent. Yet I wouldn't do it. I am for all sorts of people getting second chances in society. I wouldn't give it to them. I can be supportive of a belief, but not want it in my space or not wish it happens to me. Okay? I think the media is much more comfortable with gay. The media is moderate to leaning left. Many of us are 40 or 50. But for 21-year-old NFL players, some of these coaches aren't really sure what to expect. Bill Maher, HBO, said it best, and he leans far left. Can we slow down on if you don't initially embrace the Michael Sam thing in the NFL, you don't carry the rainbow flag around the locker room, you're suddenly a hate monger? Keith Olbermann last night talked about this. And I'll take just 3 snippets. Here's the first.
7 years ago, he received an award from a group that was trying for a ban on same-sex marriage in Indiana. Dungy surprised even them by publicly announcing his support for their efforts and the ban.
Again, you can support stuff, love children, but not want any in your family. It's okay to support things, but on a personal level or a business level, acknowledge it would be disruptive. Number 2.
Secondly, Tony Dungy was the man who advocated for the readmission of Michael Vick to the NFL, who volunteered to be Vick's mentor, who stood up and said, I'll vouch for his good behavior after Vick's prison term for his unforgivable crimes against dogs. To Mr. Dungy, whatever the distractions Michael Vick presented, they were nothing compared to the distractions Michael Sam might present.
They're different. Who cares about people marching in a parking lot? This is an in-locker room, in-huddle distraction. That's outside. Again, different distractions. Number 3.
Tony Dungy just admitted that Tony Dungy wouldn't be a skilled enough coach to deal with the distraction of doing the right thing.
Well, great CEOs can't control every employee. Bill Belichick couldn't stop the Aaron Hernandez stupidity. Tony Dungy may be acknowledging, I've been in this league 30 years. I can't always speak for my players or predict how they'll act with something that is new and unique and goes against their religious beliefs. Again, I don't have to agree with Tony Dungy, but let's be careful about labeling people hate mongers and anti-gay when, as I said before the draft, and I predicted Michael Sam would fall in the draft, it's a disruption issue. And companies aren't sure what to do with it. Do you know why the Dow is shooting up? Part of it is companies are lean. They're cash rich. Part of it is the turmoil in the world. Most of the money globally is pouring into our Wall Street. But part of it is no terrorist attacks on our soil. There's stability right now. And there's not a lot of global stability. And we have stability. We know what's going on. You know what Wall Street's scared of? The fear of the unknown. A company can announce, we're cutting 6,000 employees. Dow Jones goes up. Company stock goes up. But if they announce something Wall Street didn't know, predict, or foresee, price goes down. The fear of the unknown. Disruptions. Tebow, Manziel, Michael Sam. A year this won't matter. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th openly gay player won't matter. Maybe annually players will kiss men live on the draft. Right now, not everybody works at the same speed with it. Outside of the music industry, even Hollywood, Rock Hudson, even our military, even our president, even our states have struggled with this issue. Take a deep breath, let it breathe before we label. Heard brought to you by Sport Clips. Client appreciation at Sport Clips. Get a double MVP haircut experience. Price of a single. Hurry, July 31st is when it all ends. Is my chair short today? Hold on. I just feel small today. I don't know what it is. Ever since I got back to San Diego, I feel like 6 or 7 inches shorter. I'm not comfortable with it at all. I like a powerful position. I was on SportsCenter with Kevin Nagandi, and I kept saying, put the chair up. I felt like I was, standing next to Bill Lambier. It's like, give me some height here. All sorts of stuff. NFL predictions next hour. I'm going to run through every team, every Division, been pretty accurate through the years. Predicted 4 of 6 division titles last year. Eagles caught us off guard. I do think there is a division that is the easiest to predict in my lifetime. Most of these NFL divisions, you have a sense. One, based on what's happening in the league, is the easiest division to predict. It's not even close. If they don't win it, people should be fired. Employees of the organization. Even consultants to the organization. Is everybody cheating in college sports? We'll check it out in Spanning. Guys, if you're feeling stuck and unhappy in your job and you want to do something you like and make some money, go to myusatrainer.com. Before the summer ends, you could be a certified personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Certified personal trainers, good gig. Work in health clubs, corporate wellness centers. You could train college or pro athletes eventually. Plus, they guarantee you'll land a gig within 60 days of certification and your money back. It's a free 14-day sneak peek. Fast, fun online program. 14 free days closer to a dream gig. MyUSATrainer.com. It's The Herd. Brought to you by Mobile Super. Reminding you The Herd live from the Public House in Chicago, July 30th. Use Mobile Super for a long engine life. NFL camps are opening up. Yasiel Puig out with an injury. Big 12 commissioner says everybody's cheating or it's much easier to cheat. You know, it's the Tony Dungy situation. Remember, he said he would support Michael Vick. Okay, he not necessarily draft him, put him on a team, but would vouch for him as a guy. For the record, Missouri coaches vouched for Michael Sam's ability to get along with teammates. He was not a distraction. You know, Michael Sam has actually been given remarkable support by the National Football League, by the Rams, by this network. Who hasn't supported Michael Sam? Overwhelmingly, he's been given absolute support as a marginal player. Now, if he had Jadeveon Clowney's talent, it would probably be even less of a story. But coaches are always weighing in the National Football League distraction and talent. Aaron Hernandez, unbelievable, a remarkable talent. One of Bill Belichick's favorite chess piece. They were weighing that for 3 and 4 years. Not a great guy, has his issues, dropped in the draft. So I think Michael Sam's been given amazing support by everybody. But yes, Tony Dungy said what many believed. We're not quite sure how our young players are going to deal with this. Our government struggled with it. 10 years ago, how many governors and senators publicly supported gay marriage? Our president didn't 3 years ago. So it's an issue, especially in machismo enterprises. Our military struggled for this, may still struggle with it, for decades. Let's span the globe.
We do it every day at this time. We call it our daily sports page.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sports.
Spanning the globe. New York.
All right, the Giants open their training camp coming off a bad year, both for the team, the offensive line, Eli Manning. They fired their offensive coordinator. Josina Anderson is there, ESPN reporter. How big of a story is Ben McAdoo, the new offensive coordinator, taking over for Kevin Gilbride? Is that the overreaching story here? Is that what everybody, Josina, is talking about?
Well, yeah, because you definitely want to see if the Giants can make an improvement. There were a lot of issues with the offense last year. That just had to do with Kevin Gilbride and just a general sentiment of his offense becoming a little bit too predictable, but also because of the injuries that occurred on the offensive line, the running game going stale, ranking 29th, falling from 14th the year before, and the Giants not really getting much production opposite Victor Cruz, with Hakeem Nicks kind of going quiet with no touchdowns. So Ben McAdoo has been brought in to bring life to this offense, a little bit of a West Coast mentality, trying to increase the pace, also trying to minimize the post-snap adjustments. And certainly everybody is eager to see how Eli Manning will fit into that offense, especially coming off of ankle surgery and a league-leading career-high 27 interceptions.
Chris Snee, offensive line, announced retirement yesterday. he was sort of the anchor of it, Josina, for the last decade. Do they have a plan to replace him?
They do have a plan to replace him. You know, I had an opportunity to talk to Chris Nee yesterday. He said that he spoke with General Manager Jerry Reese back in March, and the two of them basically made a decision to see if he could give it a go with the problems he was having with his elbow. Obviously, that did not work out. In the meantime, they do have a plan B, having signed John Jerry from the Dolphins. They can also move in Brandon Mosley. There is some talk of possibly even moving over their second-round draft pick, center Weston Richburg, in that area as well.
Good stuff, Josina. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
College football.
So the Big 12 commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, said cheating pays in college football. It's not being monitored. Brett McMurphy covers college football for ESPN. What brought these comments out, Brett?
You know, that's a good question. I think basically it has to do with the Power 5 conferences and the upcoming autonomy. He wants everybody to be on the same page and operate within the same rules, but he's got a valid point. In the last year, there's only been one meeting of the infractions committee, and you go back only 3 years ago, and there were 8 schools that had major violations in their football programs. So there has been a decided decrease in the last few years.
You know, when I look at it, part of me thinks it was sort of a veiled shot at the SEC. And, you know, Bob Stoops has taken some shots at the SEC. Was it? Am I reaching, or was it?
Yeah, I don't think you're reaching. You know, I also heard Bowlesby earlier today, and he talked specifically about what he's concerned about is schools violating the 20-hour rule as far as practices. Oversigning is obviously a big issue with the SEC. But he mentioned, you know, coaches restricting what schools their players can transfer to. Well, Oklahoma State, you know, restricted Wes Lunt, their quarterback, to something like 30 schools that he couldn't transfer to. So I don't know if he was specifically targeting the SEC, but I don't think you're off base that he was kind of sending a message out there to the other 4 leagues, and maybe to even some own schools within his own conference.
Good stuff, Brett. Thanks.
Thanks, Colin.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, C.O. Puig, wildly popular, still out with an injury. Mark Willard, our buddy, ESPN 710 LA. How serious is it?
Well, it doesn't sound too serious. They took X-rays right away. A curveball hit him from the arm of Joe Kelly in St. Louis a couple of nights ago. The X-rays were immediately negative, and they said, hey, you know, he should be back momentarily. But the swelling has been a little bit persistent, so he hasn't gotten back into the lineup yet. And that's pushed Matt Kemp, who has bounced around the Dodger outfield a little bit and hasn't been very pleased about it, pushed him into right field last night for the first time since 2009.
Has he been now last year, great start, and then he sort of erodes. This year, great start. How is he playing overall?
He's playing great. The only thing that's been a little different about Puig, and I guess a little bit of a head-scratcher, is he's not hitting as many home runs. But with offense, and I've heard you talk about this so much, it seems like nobody's hitting in the big leagues. But what Puig is doing this year is he's still hitting for a great average. He's well up over 300. And so when you think about a guy like Puig, he was so primed for the potential sophomore slump because of the way he finished last year. But it hasn't happened. I mean, he's basically legitimized himself as somebody who can adjust to the adjustments that have been made to him. So he's done very well.
Good stuff. Thanks, man.
Okay, you got it.
That was Spanning the Globe.
To bring you the constant variety of sports.
The Herd on ESPN Radio.
You know, regarding the Michael Sam story, I'm interested to see if he can even make the team. You know, a lot of people said this was a perfect team for him. I'm not sure it is. I mean, it's not like that team needs other pass rushers. There are certain teams in this league that could use a pass rusher. Mostly everybody outside of, like, you know, Seattle, San Francisco does a pretty good job. But it's the Rams. That division, by the way, has 4 great defenses. So there are other teams I think he could fit with, but I don't think in a year this is a story. It might not be a story by week 7 of the NFL, but tolerance works at different speeds for different people. And I think for the NFL, this is difficult. And I said this, do I hate Christians when I said I'd never draft Tim Tebow, nor would I ever acquire Tim Tebow because he's a distraction, and it's largely his rabid Christian fan base. And I said that on the air, and I'll say it again. His rabid Christian fan base can be disruptive, take over stadiums, and it's, do I hate Christians? Am I a hate monger? The media took shots at Tim Tebow, and nobody labeled it Christian hating, and there were some, myself included, some shots fired. So it's just time, space, take a deep breath. When our government and our military need time, so does a football locker room with 21-year-old guys. It just takes time. Celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, or just because. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for special deals on flowers and gifts starting at $29.99. Brett Favre booed? About this, the most liberal community in America is probably West Hollywood in Los Angeles. And Hollywood realized there's a couple of big-name stars in Hollywood now that are gay, and Hollywood knows it. But the studios don't necessarily want it out because could middle America tolerate it, or would middle America support the action hero who is gay? So Hollywood for years didn't struggle with Rock Hudson. What they struggled with is, how will Rock Hudson's career be affected if it's known a leading man is gay? Everybody in Hollywood knew it. Non-issue in West Hollywood. Nobody cared. There's executives in West Hollywood. An incredibly prominent one, well-known. Hollywood doesn't care. But are they hypocrites in Hollywood? All those liberals supporting Michael Sam? Couldn't I argue they're hypocrites? Because they don't just announce it, but they keep it quiet because they're concerned about the bottom line. How will it affect sales for their movies? So super liberal Hollywood, of which I love West Hollywood, going to L.A. for a week in October. They suppress information, hide it regarding gay actors because it'll hurt sales. Aren't they hypocrites? We're all hypocrites. The Michael Sam situation, if he was an unbelievable talent, would be less of an issue. But he's a marginal NFL talent, a late-round pick, and some are concerned about the distraction. Even our most liberal, progressive communities and thinkers, often for their own self-indulgence or their own self-importance, will support social causes, but won't announce them because it's bad PR. So before you give me this compares to Jackie Robinson, this is outrageous, go to Hollywood, look at how they treat gay, which is, it's cool, dude, I'll invite you to my party, but let's not announce it, if you know what I'm saying. Look how they handle it. Look at our governors, Democrats, senators, President Barack Obama, 3 years ago. Not good for that Midwest vote if you support gay marriage. Is he a racist? Is he intolerant? We all do this in society. Support causes, support people that may not be personally comfortable with it quite yet because it could affect the bottom line. Does that rise to hate? Well, it rises to hypocrisy, but I would point to Los Angeles. I would point to Hollywood and say, look at how they have suppressed information regarding people's sexuality because it's bad for the bottom line. Because they don't know how other people in America, ticket buyers, will handle it. So if the NFL says, we're okay, we got gay players all over this league, gay executives, we don't care, but we're not quite sure how 21-year-olds initially are going to handle it. Okay, all right, that's happening in Hollywood. We're accepting, but sometimes we're not quite yet ready to wave the flag for the cause. I've been in NFL locker rooms. I've seen gay players. I've known players are gay. But the publicly gay, it's new territory. We'll get past it. Won't take long. Could be 6 weeks. Could be 6 days. Won't be 6 years. Michael, you're in the herd on ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin, thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
I kind of agree. This is a whole risk versus reward situation, and the potential reward isn't worth the risk of this distraction, which distractions have always been a part of sports, but this is new and different like you're talking about, and I don't think we understand how to take it. And I kind of agree with Tony Dungy. This is a reward for a marginal player, and you're taking a huge risk because it's brand new, and you don't know what the outcome of that distraction is going to be.
Well, listen, I was reading, I think, the Tampa Tribune this morning, and the Tim Tebow situation is a prime example where a person's huge Christian following, Tebow was remarkably popular, much like Michael Sam, despite being marginal. And a lot of teams passed on Tim Tebow. Some came out and publicly said he's too much of a circus. What you're acknowledging is the Christian following is too much of a circus. The media's response is, he's a marginal player. The media's response to this is, whoa, homophobia. Yes, some exists. Military, government, society, and it's wrong. But I think you have to be very cautious about comparing it to Jackie Robinson when you look at the history of slavery in America. And which was so violent and repulsive. Yes, homophobia is repulsive. But I consider slavery the low point of American history. And I think almost any reasonable person would agree. We don't have a history of widespread violence. Individual hate crimes, yes, but widespread violence in regions, not just states, in regions, as we did with slavery and bigotry. I got to get to this Brett Favre thing. Apparently, there's been a story that Brett Favre would get booed in Green Bay if he went back. Why? Why would anybody boo Brett Favre in Green Bay? Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me look this up real quick. 16 years, didn't miss a start. How can you boo a guy who started for 16 years, was a 12-time Pro Bowler, got you to 2 Super Bowls, and won a Super Bowl, and did it largely without great supporting casts offensively? How many Pro Bowl wide receivers did Brett Favre have? Yeah, you got to be crazy. And they dumped him. He flew up there August 2008. Didn't he fly up there? He flew up from Mississippi to Green Bay, and they said, dude, this isn't going to work. Sever the ties. He moved on. You get dumped, you can date who you want. And Green Bay said, we got Aaron Rodgers. Drafted him 3 years ago. Going with Brett Favre. We want things to be simple, right? Save you time and money. That's the kind of stuff I can get behind. That's why I'm making the switch to Nature Box. They've revolutionized the way people are snacking. They make these great, good for you, delivered to you for free snacks. Yesterday, we did the sweet blueberry almonds. This stuff's really good. And I'm kind of a snack guy. I don't sit down and do major meals a lot. So yesterday, we got a box of all these things, and they have these healthy figs. I got to tell you, the sweet blueberry diamonds were off the hook. They're just off the hook. They've got all sorts of things. They feature over 100 sweet, spicy, savory snacks won't find in stores. Hit naturebox.com/Colin. 50% off your first box. And the shipping is free. naturebox.com/Colin. And in the promo code Colin to get half off your first Nature Box. It's the herd. I think if you really look at America right now, you can look at the most progressive people, and they have struggled with the gay issue to protect their own land, their own income, or their own popularity. Bill Clinton voted for him. Even his most ardent supporters would tell you he was obsessed with polling. That deep down Bill Clinton wanted to be popular and would obsess over polling. What is the public like? Okay, how do I then present it to the public? Our politicians, Barack Obama doesn't care about gay marriage. He's for it. But 2 or 3 years ago, he didn't come out in full support. Is he a racist? Is he a hate monger? No, he's our president and didn't know how it would play. Even the most liberal and progressive parts of our society. Hollywood, music industry with a teenage heartthrob who happens to be gay. How will it play? So there's hypocrisy surrounding all of it. It's just conservatives are labeled hate mongers, and liberals who suppress or alter information for the bottom line aren't. All I'm saying is NFL will get through this. Just like the military, it'll be fine. But not everybody at the same speed can handle all these issues. This is a complete non-issue for me personally. My favorite professor, who's since passed away, was gay. Non-issue. Gay members in the family, non-issue. Didn't grow up in a Baptist community. Didn't go to church as a kid. Non-issue. Don't care. I turn the lights off in my bedroom. I don't want them on in yours. Don't care about being your supervisor socially. Didn't grow up with the Bible. Some did. Takes more time. But you know, this idea that Tony Dungy today, he made a comment on a distraction. Manziel, Tebow. This distraction thing has been around the league forever. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, Michael Vick, and how can you support Michael Vick? Michael Vick was incarcerated. We've had 19 guys arrested in the offseason this year. The league's been dealing with incarceration issues forever. 5 Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I'll tell you one of the stories that bothers me. I am troubled deeply how Ray Rice is allowed back despite knocking his girlfriend unconscious. That bothers me deeply. It bothers me. Deadspin had a story about the misogynistic tones and violence our boxing champion, Mr. Mayweather, has exhibited, and yet he is fully embraced by the American media. We are hypocrites. We would not allow that in our families, to our daughters, to our wives, to our moms. But you see Chris Brown, hip-hop star, celebrated by the media. Mayweather, celebrated by it. So everybody's a hypocrite. Vile, misogynistic, violent people against women. Where's the media outrage there? Where's the media outrage on Chris Brown? Disgusting. Mayweather. Look at his history. Ray Rice. So we always, in the media, love to point a finger at people, but yet we never acknowledge our hypocrisy. We never acknowledge it. We're great at pointing fingers. We never own our own baggage in this media. It wasn't until May 9th, 2 years ago, when Obama became the first pro-gay marriage president in our history. He said, I'm going through an evolution on this issue. Our president, the highest IQ president perhaps we've had in 100 years. So NFL players, coaches struggling with it. It'll take time. Our president, 2 years ago, I've got the date, May 9th. We point the finger at hate. You hate, you hate, you hate. Sometimes people take a while to get their arms around stuff. Nick Saban, top of the hour. JD, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Yeah, Colin, I tell you, seen a lot of this stuff about the Michael Sam situation, and I've been watching the show, and I really, with the Mike and Mike stuff, Greeny said something today that really got to me. He said that if he was in the same situation as Dungy, he would have felt the same way. And I don't think that you can have it both ways. Either a player is cut out athletically to do the job that you're hiring him for, or he's not. So, I mean, it's a non-issue to me. And one other thing, like you said, it's not an issue. It wasn't an issue for me either until they came out and made it an issue. They wanted to go out to Oprah. You know, his team and his financial people, or whoever's leading this kid, I think they got to take some of the credibility of, is this our fault?
Well, let me just say this. I didn't love moving toward Oprah for Michael Sam. To me, social situation, new, give it time, let people get their arms around it, don't push it. I wasn't for that. Was I a hate monger then? Some said I was. Nick Saban around the corner, and I will also next hour line up every record in the NFL. Every single record. Couple big surprises. I like the Bears a lot again this year. How's that? Little tease. Spoiler alert. I like the Bears a lot this year. The Herd. It's the Herd on ESPN Radio, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Simulcast, of course, on ESPNU in 15 minutes. I'll lay out the AFC, NFC, archive it, put it on paper. My NFL predictions. We got 4 of the 6 division champs last year. Chip Kelly in Philadelphia threw me for a loop. My pleasure to bring in a man we teased earlier today, Nick Saban, who comes on the show every year and who has agreed to do a cage confessional, which is awesome after our show. Guy totally gets it. You look great. I don't know how old you are. I think you're 60. You look fantastic. I hear your wife a couple years ago say it's not as joyous. And there's too much. The pressure's relentless. When she said that, did you think to yourself driving home that night, I got to have more fun? Did it affect you? Did you talk about that?
Well, you know what? I'm actually having more fun now than maybe ever before, because I think the challenges are greater, especially with the players. I mean, the game's always challenging. You know, we play in a challenging league. It's a great division, lots of good teams. That part of it's fun. But it's really more challenging now because, to me, the disparity between the players that are coming in terms of how they think about things, what they do, how you need to challenge them, how you need to help them develop the right habits so they can be successful. Because, you know, it used to be, player was afraid not to do what the coach said. You know, now these guys are like, you know, I've arrived. I'm here.
They're empowered. Young people are empowered.
Right. And so what are you going to do with me? Well, what are you going to do with yourself? You know, and how are we going to get them to do it? So that part of it has become very challenging, but something that I enjoy and fun because there's a little psychological, you know, sort of human, you know, behavior involved in all of it, which, you know, is a little more challenging, just the X and O's.
You know, when you hired Lane Kiffin, who I know well and like, a lot of people said, whoa, what? When you sat down, you had to know he wasn't wildly popular nationally, and you knew you'd take a few arrows from the media. Did it surprise you? Was it as much or more than you thought when you hired him?
Well, you know, I didn't think it was. I thought it could be, you know, more than actually it was. But look, you know, I look at Lane, and first of all, every place that he's ever coached, he has done a really good job of coaching, whether he was a coordinator at Southern Cal, the head coach at Tennessee. I thought he took a sort of a not real talented offensive team there and made them very productive and very competitive in our
almost
league.
Beat you.
And almost beat us. We had to block a field goal with a quarterback that really played much better under his tutelage than ever before. The guy has a really great reputation as a recruiter and a good evaluator, which is another part of recruiting that people sometimes underestimate. So, you know, to me, Lane's issues were just sort of maturity in handling public relations, you know, however you want to categorize that. But, you know, as a guy on the grass coaching players, and our players have responded extremely well to him. He's very bright. He has a very good system. And I think it's going to be a tremendous addition for us. You know, I mean, so, you know, sometimes you have to know that you can't make decisions based on public opinion. When you know there's enough positive assets there that it's going to help your organization. And I think this was really kind of how I felt about this one.
Nick Saban joining us, the Herd on ESPN Radio. Yesterday, a Big 12 commission comes out and he says, hey, you can't stop this cheating. Didn't necessarily say everybody's doing it, but acknowledged you can't stop it. To which I would say, well, our government can't stop tax cheating. I mean, there's some things people either have ethics or they don't. Do you, without naming names, because I know you won't, is it worse today than 5 years ago? When you were at Michigan State, now you're at Alabama. More infractions, less infractions. Recruiting's been ramped up. There's more money now, Nick. I could see where there would be more cheating, more money at stake, $1 million jobs. Better or worse than it used to be?
I don't see that. I don't know where people get those opinions. You know, I think the compliance in our league is actually better than it's ever been. You know, I think Mike Schlav, that was one of his babies when he came in, that he was going to make sure that we had a clean league and people did the right things. And I think when you don't walk the walk in our league, you're going to get called down, by our conference office as much as the NCAA. I think it's difficult for enforcement. I don't think there's any question about that. So I agree with that part of it. But I don't see players getting bought. I don't see players getting extra benefits, any place. I think, recruiting is so transparent now.
It really is.
I think most people are scared to death that they would get caught publicly, not by the NCAA, not by their conference office. But, even if you have illegal contact with the player, he tweets that you talk to him. So that's a violation. It's so transparent. You almost have to do things correctly because I don't think anybody needs to catch you. I think the public would catch you.
Yes. Twitter has kind of changed the game for everybody. Are you pro-Twitter or anti-Twitter?
I think it's got its place. And
you say that with a smile. Are you?
Well, I'm not. I'm sort of technologically impaired when it comes to all these things. So I'm too old, I guess, and didn't grow up in that generation of communication. But I think it has its place. I like for our players not to get so engrossed in the attention they get from that kind of communication that they lose focus on the things that they need to do to be productive people, students, and players. And that's kind of where I draw the line on it.
I used to be one of these guys, Nick, years ago, that I didn't think players should be paid. Like David Shaw says at Stanford, college teaches you how to make money. College shouldn't be where you make money. But there has been over the last 2 years, Nick, an elevation of revenue. Schools like Washington State in the sticks have $100 million football facilities. Big Ten, Longhorn Network, SEC's rolling, Pac-12's rolling. Have we reached a point where if you don't give players a stipend, it just doesn't feel right with all the additional revenue the playoff system will create?
Well, but I think we should do that in a way. I'm all for everything we can do for players, all right, because I think they deserve a lot. I think they give a lot. But I don't think that people should underestimate what we reinvest into the players, whether it's academic support, personal development programs, and the value of getting an education. So I do agree with David when it comes to you learn how to develop a career where you can change your lifestyle. But at the same time, I do feel like something like cost of education, which other people in other professions, whether it's medical school or whatever, they get a couple grand extra, 2 or 3, whatever the cost of education is for incidental expenses. And I think that to do that for players, I think we need to keep the college model. They're amateur players. And they're there to get an education and develop as people and to develop careers. But I think to make their quality of life a little bit better in the amateur status, which cost of education is something that engineering students and other people get, would be pretty easy to do without sort of creating some kind of professional status for anyone.
You're tough, but I think you're fair and tough. You ever been too tough on a player and regret it? Ever drive home at night and think, I was too tough on that kid?
Yeah, I think that's probably, I think that I probably have been. But I think I've also, through the years, I think I've learned how to manage players better. And I think when you get emotional with players, that's when you make mistakes. So what I've learned through the years is it's not emotional, it's not personal. We're just trying to teach you from the mistake that you made. So I want you to learn from that. And this doesn't need to be negative, all right, in terms of getting emotional or personal in any kind of way. So that's something that I've not done through the years and quit doing through the years. And, always pray that I don't get angry because I think those are the times you do things that you're sorry for.
No huddle. No, but there's no definitive research that it hurts more players, doesn't. There's still debate. I like it because I go to a game now and I get 125 plays, not 58. It's the opposite of baseball. Football's getting faster, but I'm a fan. I'm just worried about my eyeballs, okay? When you look at the speed of the game, here's what I wonder. Nick Saban now, you got to send that quarterback out. He's making stuff up. It's more instinct now. Are you less efficient as a coach with no huddle. You can't control it like you used to.
Well, I think you do control it, but it's calculated control, and it's just like option football. You know, option football, the point of attack changed during the play, and the quarterback had to decide where that point of attack was going to be based on where the defense
reacted. Did you ever coach that?
Or how the defense reacted. No, I coached against it. I was always a defensive guy.
Okay.
All right, so the same thing happens down the spread. The point of attack changes. You fake a zone read. Quarterback keeps the ball, might throw a bubble pass out there. So it really is option football. That's all it is. All right, so that part of it you still control because you're teaching the guy to read and what to do based on the circumstances that the defense presents. Defensively, I think when you go fast, you take the defensive coaches out of the game. You can't substitute. You can't scheme. You got to play simple schemes that cannot get determined by anything that the offense does. All right, so it's very limiting to the defense. But, look, the only thing that I think is in high school football and pro football, the officials control the pace of the game. College football is the only place where they don't, okay? So why should our game be different than others? And I'm not talking about being able to substitute or anything like that, but, I mean, even Chip Kelly in Philadelphia averaged 65 plays after averaging 85 or so, you know, at Oregon, because they're not going to let the game go that fast. Because the one thing that needs to happen for the game to be fair is all the officials need to be in position to call the game. And when you just put the ball down and let them go so fast, you can watch film all the time where the officials aren't in position. Defensive players aren't even having the opportunity to get lined up. So that's an issue. Now, everything we've ever done in college football relative to injuries, even now they're trying to cut down exposures in practice. But 7 times more injuries occur in the game. That's a fact. All right, so we're not cutting down the number of plays in the game. We're letting it increase. So my thing is the rules should dictate what is a fair number of plays for a player to play in the game. And that doesn't mean you slow the pace down. Maybe you just change some rules. Don't stop the clock on a first down. Or whatever. If you're going to stop it, let them substitute after first down. I mean, there's little things that we could do in our game that would not change the game at all.
And by the way, football, more than any sport, constantly reevaluates and changes. NFL changes overtime rules.
Always.
Good seeing you.
But you know, there's one thing that I'd like to make a point about.
All right.
You know, we should actually have some governing body in college, besides coaches, that decide, like the NFL has a competition committee.
Yep.
We should have some kind of competition committee in college to make these decisions. So it's not a Democrat Republic, offensive Republican, offense versus defense. It's more, here's a governing body. This is what the game should be. This is how everybody should play it, and here's the rules.
Go buy Feinbaum's book. He needs the money. I just read it this weekend. He's very nice to you in that book.
That's good.
He needs the dough. Go buy Paul Feinbaum's book. Good seeing you, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Line up our NFL predictions next. Good stuff. Welcome back. Thousands of people are seeking home security. Get ripped off every day. Stuck. Huge checks. You're writing them. Long-term contracts. You're signing them. No way out. Robbery. Cost you thousands. There's a better way, though, to protect your home. Simply Safe Home Security. 24/7 protection. No contracts. $15 a month. SimplySafeColin.com for 10% off. SimplySafeColin.com. Nick and I, they had to pull him out of here. I get Nick once a year, and we always talk about these big football issues. And he brought up a new one, which was that when he looked at tape on these teams that are very fast, Auburn's a team that really moves, Oregon obviously, is that sometimes the officials aren't in place. And if you just take the ball, 3-second count, 1001, 1002, 1003, which the NFL does, you let the officials get in place. Listen, the game's fast. But with the super fast teams, they're moving so quickly, officials can't keep up. And I think we would all agree that college football is not as well officiated as the National Football League. It's impossible. You got 120 teams, 60 games every Saturday. You need 30 guys, 20 guys, a crew. It's hard. How many guys on a football crew, officials? I got 12, 8, 12, I don't know. I don't know at the college level. But there's just not that many competent people. So next thing is, can you give us a 3 count on these no-huddle teams? Let the defensive guys get in their spot. It's not about 10 seconds, not about 15. It's NFL. You get about 67 plays max. maybe 70. College, you're getting 85. So it's 7 total on the field. Good stuff. Mike Krzyzewski said something yesterday. Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski. And this is something we touched on yesterday on a very legitimate sports debate. Do you trade for Kevin Love or do you watch Andrew Wiggins, the rookie, grow? And I said the one thing, and I don't think either side is wrong, but something you really have to consider, and Mike Krzyzewski brought this up. He said, you look at LeBron, said Coach K, and you have the best player in the world. He's 29. I'm not saying he's at the end of his career, but he's in the second half of his career. That, by the way, is completely correct. Defensively, LeBron's not as good today as he was 4 years ago. He's not. He broke into this league chasing down guys and blocking shots on the fast break. Nightly. He doesn't do that anymore. He just doesn't do it on a weekly basis. He says, and in the first half of his career, he was becoming a great player. It took time, just like with Andrew Wiggins. LeBron's great now. You don't want to waste any year of a great player's career. Kevin Love is close to being that. He's not as great as LeBron, but he's there. You know who Love is now. And I was talking to the guys this morning, and I said, we forget in the media, we forget how long it takes great players to reach their peak. Kobe Bryant, first year, 7 points a game, then 15, then 19, then 22. It wasn't until Kobe's 5th year that he was Kobe. 28 a game, 46% from the field. LeBron's field goal percentage, 42, 47, 48, 48. It wasn't until year 7 that he became the player he is today, efficient, over 50%. His game took some sandpapering, some rounding out. Kevin Love, this will be his 7th year. LeBron, it'll be his, 12th? Okay, Andrew Wiggins is going to take at least 3 full regular seasons. Maybe by the playoffs of his 3rd year, he will reach a 20-point-a-game level. Now, guys can now get better quicker because the defense can't hand check. So offensively, guys can go college to pro, and they can score pretty quick. Doug McDermott will come out to the Bulls and score 12 a game. The league now is built for three-point shooters. You don't have to create your own shot. Have a good player, Derrick Rose, double, kick it out, hit a J, boom, 12 points a game. But LeBron's probably got about 7 years left in this league. 3 great years, then you'll start noticing real erosion. Kevin Love's probably got 4 peak years. Then you'll start noticing erosion. And even today, Kevin Love's not a great defender. Some would say he's not a good defender. So this argument is the one we talked about yesterday. I don't think there's a wrong way to go, but the timeline shifts. And I think if you look at Cleveland's history in sports, if LeBron wins 1 title, hero. Just got to win 1. Doesn't have to win multiples. Had to win multiples in Miami. Doesn't have to win Cleveland. And I think LeBron, if you don't make the move for Love, is wasting his last 3 prime years physically as the kid develops. So this argument is the one we made yesterday where it's kind of a fact. You are going to waste LeBron's primary peak physical years for 2-3 years if you don't make the move. That's generally not what you want to do with stars. The Lakers, in Kobe's 7 great years, put him with Shaq or Gasol in 6 of them. And he won titles. First 3 or 4 years, Del Harris, young, wasn't in his prime. Phil Jackson comes, Kobe moves into his prime, 7 years, gets titles. Now he's out of his prime. Coming up next, I put my neck on the line. Archive it, guys. Roll the tape. NFL wins and losses. Vegas, pay attention. The Herd. All right, ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. All right, we're going to do it right here. Next 2 segments. I am going to lay out. We'll start with the NFC, then go to the AFC, my predictions. I do it every summer. I pushed it back a couple of weeks because we've had some big free agency NBA stuff, and I took a couple of days off last week. But here we are. We'll put it on tape. We'll predict everything. We're pretty good at picking division winners, but this is a very tough league. Super Bowl losers, historically, don't even make the playoffs the next year. So here we go. Let's start with the NFC.
NFC East.
I'll take Philadelphia to win the division at 10-6. I think of every unit in this division, Philadelphia's offense is the most remarkable. And I think Chip Kelly's the best offensive mind to be introduced to the NFL in over a decade. The Eagles win it at 10-6. I think the rest of the division is rebuilding. Again, I'll take the Giants at 7-9 for second place. Chris Snee just retired. Great. Like their offensive line needed that. I don't like their tight end position. They don't have a game changer. I think they're average at running back and linebacker. They've got a new offensive coordinator. Translation, new terminology. Giants at 7-9. I'll put the Redskins, 3-13 last year, at 7-9 as well. The Redskins have had instability over the last several years. That's why they finished in last place in this division several times. They have a new head coach. They'll have a new staff and new terminology. Their defense has holes and little depth. And rounding it out, the Dallas Cowboys, 5-11. I think they'll bottom out. I think Tony Romo, often running to pick up yards, running to create space, will last about 13 games off back surgery, and their defensive personnel can't save the day. It's weak. Sean Lee's injury is the biggest injury this offseason. I think the Cowboys, after Romo has some difficulty sustaining 16 games, will be a mess by the end of the year.
NFC North.
I'll take Green Bay at 10-6, although their lack of defensive playmakers except Clay Matthews is obvious. They were 25th in yards allowed. I'm not sure if Finley's going to be around for Aaron Rodgers much longer. I will say this about the Green Bay Packers. I like their schedule. Now, it is tough after the bye in the second half. Bears, Eagles, and Patriots in 4 weeks. But they get them all at home. But I will have the Chicago Bears also at 10-6, my dark horse team to make the playoffs and make a real run. They have the easiest late season schedule in the NFL. Minnesota, Tampa, both at home. Dallas, New Orleans, Detroit, all at home. Detroit, Minnesota on the road. But remember, New Orleans, mid-December, dome team in 9 degrees, doesn't play well. The Bears should be favored often heavily in their last 7 games of the year. 5 are at home, and the 2 that aren't are unstable franchises, Detroit and Minnesota. I think the Bears are the surprise of the NFL. I'll take Detroit at 6-10. I thought Jim Caldwell was a weak hire at head coach. They overpaid for Golden Tate. Matt Stafford needs guidance. 36 picks in 2 years. He makes too many mistakes. He needed a stronger head coach and a better one. I'll take Minnesota at 5-11. Not awful, often competitive, can take a punch, but limited at quarterback.
NFC South.
I'll take New Orleans with the best head coach in the division, the best quarterback in the division, and the best home field in the division to win it at 10-6. But there'll be upsets here. I don't like Atlanta defensively at linebacker, and not enough to win the division. But the Falcons at 9-7 will finish second. They lost 6 games by 6 or less. This year, they'll win some of those. No team has a better quarterback and lost more close games than Atlanta this year. They'll bounce back. I'll take Carolina to take a big step back at 7-9. Steve Smith, the most underrated star in this league the last decade. They'll face 10 Pro Bowl quarterbacks, most of them in a row, 8 weeks in the middle of the season. Carolina may be good early and late. They will struggle massively to win games in a big chunk from late September to mid-December. Tampa Bay rounds it out at 6-10.
NFC West.
The best division in football. Even though I have one team with a losing record in this division, I really like their personnel. San Francisco, to me, is the best team in football and were last year, but wore down after 6 straight road games, culminating in a loss on one play to the Seahawks in Seattle. No team has more elite players, stars, not system, than the 49ers. Trent Baalke, the GM, has built a powerhouse. They're 3 plays from being in 3 straight Super Bowls. Seattle will be 10-6, but take a step back. They let 2 defensive ends go for salary cap reasons. They won't be quite as intimidating on that side. Some players getting a little rich. We know what that does. It's a Super Bowl hangover. There'll be a little pullback. They also had a turnover ratio of plus 22. That's ridiculous. They can't equal that. But they'll be a playoff team. Bruce Arians in Arizona will be 9-7. I think they could win certain divisions. I think Arians is the most underrated head coach in the league. But with these pass rushes, Carson Palmer simply isn't mobile enough to win it with his feet. Kaepernick and Russell Wilson can. They'll go 9-7, but I do believe they need to get more mobile at quarterback. Carson came off a 22-interception year, and it's not because he can't throw and Arians can't coach. He's just not mobile enough in this division. And a St. Louis team that I believe has to make a change at quarterback will finish 7-9. And I absolutely love their personnel. Other divisions, they're a first or second place team. But the reason I like both San Francisco and Seattle, their quarterbacks can win games in multiple ways. Carson Palmer can't. Sam Bradford can't. The Cardinals at 7-9. So that's the NFC. The AFC will be next. You have tax problems? Why don't you call Community Tax right away? They solve tax problems. Maybe you owe back taxes, being audited, maybe, several years of unfiled returns. Is the IRS calling you, sending letters, threatening ones, coming to your house, place of business? Listen, don't deal with the IRS. They're not there to be your friends. Let the professionals at Community Tax help. Call them today. 888-989-8647. 888-989-8647. Or make it even easier. CommunityTax.com. Every day for years, thousands of satisfied clients. They're not your friends at the IRS. The people at Community Tax are. And they're standing by to help right now. Community Tax solves tax problems. 888-989-8647. AFC next, the Herd.
Life is...
NFL training camp's underway. Sports Center coverage live at New York Giants camp tomorrow. Coverage continues at the Cowboy camp. All right, we did the NFC, picking the Eagles at 10-6 to win the NFC East. The Packers and the Bears both to go 10-6 in the NFC North. Which I really like Chicago more than others. I picked New Orleans at 10-6 to win the NFC South, and San Francisco at 11-5 to win the NFC West, but Seattle at 10-6 to be a playoff team. Let's go to the AFC.
AFC East.
Just say it out loud. Brady, Geno Smith, E.J. Manuel, Ryan Tannehill. Some of those guys won't even be starting next year. Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the division. The schedule once again works out. Bill Belichick's the best coach, best home field advantage, and it's their best defense since their Super Bowl winning years. I've been cooler on the Patriots in recent years because I didn't like their pass rush or their corners. They went out and upgraded their pass rush and their corners. 11-5, and I think they could be better. The Jets and Buffalo, I like the Jets' defensive personnel, and I like Buffalo's offensive personnel. But I give the Jets a one-game edge to finish in second at 9-7 because I think they have an incredibly manageable end of the season. Now, in 7 games, the Jets will face superior quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Jay Cutler, Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady a couple times, and Big Ben. But at the end of the season, Buffalo, Miami, Minnesota, Tennessee, Miami, favorites and better defensive personnel. The Jets go 9-7. I like Buffalo. But at the end of the year, at Denver, at New England, Green Bay, major quarterback disadvantages. I think it comes down to the last month for those two, and I just favor the Jets' schedule. Buffalo at 7-9, the Jets at 9-7. I'll take Miami to finish last. A lot of Dolphin fans tell me Ryan Tannehill is what? 15-17 as a starter. Now he's got a new offensive guy that's going to go up tempo. But he had 24 touchdowns. Yeah, and he had 17 picks and 6 fumbles. Sorry, shaky offensive line, new assistant. I don't like where Miami's headed, 5-11.
AFC North.
Baltimore rebounds. It's a bounce-back year for the best-run organization in that division, the Baltimore Ravens at 10-6. They lost 5 of 6 roadies last year in close games. They'll win a few of those this year, and they've always been great at home. Cincinnati's got the best personnel top to bottom, but I'm cool on Andy Dalton. They're 9-7. They get their bye too early, face 3 tough games in the middle of the season, all on the road, New England, Indy, and the Saints, and have a tough closing schedule, Denver, Pittsburgh twice, and at Cleveland, a place that can be tough for the Bengals, Cincinnati second at 9-7. I don't like where Pittsburgh's going. Todd Haley and Big Ben may not act as though it's troubling, but do they really mesh? Are we giving Mike Tomlin a pass? The sacks plunge defensively. And can they run with any consistency? Pittsburgh's personnel this morning just isn't as good as Cincinnati, and I don't think they're getting the leadership Baltimore is. Steelers at 7-9. Cleveland will be fun. Hoyer will play more than Johnny Football. Browns at 6-10.
AFC South.
I think this is the most predictable division in football. Andrew Luck, 12-4, love the Colts. In 12 of 16 games, they will clearly have a superior quarterback. And they finish strong with several weak quarterbacks to finish. Jacksonville, Cleveland, Houston, Tennessee. This team will win the division maybe by late November. Houston was 2-14 last year. We'll upgrade to 7-9. They bailed on their coach emotionally. I think their roster's pretty good. I think they've got a better head coach, but there are limitations at quarterback. And I don't think they'll beat the Colts. They're at 7-9, maybe 8-8. I'll go 7-9. A nice turnaround for the Texans. Jacksonville, actually, I like some of their personnel. They finished strong last year. What were they, 4-4 in their last 8 after an abysmal beginning? I'll go 6-10, though. I just don't think they can make enough plays at quarterback. Same with Tennessee at 5-11. Jake Locker's not the answer. Predicted it 4 years ago.
AFC West.
Denver, free agent moves, sacrifice the future for now. I don't think Denver will be as overpowering in September as they were last year. But if you watched last year, you saw an older team that wasn't nearly, despite home field advantage, as dominating. They struggled to put away San Diego and an injury-depleted Patriot team at home in the playoffs. They'll win the division, though, at 11-5. San Diego is second at 8-8. Their schedule's ridiculous. They start at Arizona and the Seahawks. Could be 0-2. Then travel cross-country to Buffalo. But their end-of-the-season schedule is the toughest in the NFL. At Baltimore, New England, Denver, at San Francisco, and a tough closer at Arrowhead. They could literally go 0-5 down the stretch, even though I like the direction they're headed. Give Phillip Rivers an offensive line. They finally have one he can play, 8-8. I like Kansas City more than others, but I'm going to go 7-9 because their turnover ratio last year was plus 19. You simply can't duplicate that. And I'll have Oakland at 5-11. It's not a harsh 5-11. It's not a hopeless 5-11. I actually think they may do better than that. But in that division, at this time, their quarterback situation, I'm going to go Raiders at 5-11. But several harrowing, close, and competitive losses. It'll be the best 5-11 in the league with the Raiders. So there you go. My NFL predictions, laid them all out. Patriots, Baltimore at 10-6, Colts at 12-4, Denver at 11-5. I got Cincinnati and the Jets making the playoffs as wild card teams. It's interesting that a lot of people predict, or at least say, schedule's overrated. But I want to know where dome teams close. Dome teams historically don't play well November, December in cold weather. Teams have often struggled to go to Tampa and Miami in September and play well. I think Chicago has a very favorable schedule at the end of the year playing in cold weather they're used to, with a strong-armed quarterback, Jay Cutler, whose ball can get through those winds. I think San Diego's an interesting team, but has a brutal last 5 weeks. What if they get banged up? Most NFL teams do. And against their best teams, they're dealing with attrition issues. Get to Subway, enter the galaxy of fresh for your chance to win free subs, tickets, and more. Subway, where winners eat. Steve Spurrier will top off our noon hour. Then Peter King, 30 minutes into our last hour, some more football talk.
Are you forgetting your bet over 6 of 7 division winners?
You know what? I think increasingly it is easy to pick division winners because I really do. Who's the best quarterback in the division? I mean, look around the NFL playoffs. Now you say, what about Cincinnati? That's because Cincinnati may have the best roster in the league. But if you gave Cincinnati San Diego's roster, that's not a playoff team. And this league is becoming more pass happy, more no huddle. Do you have a quarterback who can make plays with his feet? That's why I said I think Russell Wilson today, I'd start my franchise with him over Eli Manning, and I consider Eli a borderline Hall of Famer. The league is changing. I want guys who can at least make occasional plays with their feet. Don't want them to have to be a runner like Michael Vick, but can make plays with their feet. That was fun. I like doing that. I like my NFL picks. We'll see what that rated tomorrow. Does anybody care about that? I really do. I'm not sure anybody else does. I really do. Steve Spurrier, Peter King next. It's The Herd on ESPN Radio, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, simulcast on ESPNU. Now, I'm watching this. Yesterday, the Big 12 commissioner came out, Bob Bowlesby, and he basically said the NCAA infraction committee, they can't keep up. Enforcement's broken. They haven't had a hearing in a year. There's cheating going on. This is Bob Bowlesby, Big 12 commissioner, yesterday at Big 12 Media Day, saying basically the NCAA can't keep up with the cheaters in college football.
It's, I think, not an understatement to say that cheating pays presently. If you seek to conspire to circumvent the rules, you can do it successfully and probably not get caught on most occasions.
Same with our tax system. It's the reality of it. You want to write off certain dinners? You can. Federal cutbacks. Fewer people now being audited this year than last. Don't think top accountants don't know that. Don't think businessmen don't know that. The reality is, if people lack an ethical compass, it's not a perfect world. The NCAA has always been, to some degree, an ambulance chaser. They don't create the accidents. They help later. I mean, that's really what they do. They read the LA Times. Ooh, somebody may have cheated. They read the Lexington Herald. They read a newspaper somewhere in Dallas. Ooh, there's cheating going on. Then they go in and try to clean up the mess. So if you want to cheat in society, there's a lot of ways to get around stuff, even through our federal government and the taxes you pay. You hope people have ethical standards. There is more transparency today than there used to be. I don't believe it's as bad as everybody says. I think social media, Facebook and Twitter, players talk now. I also think there's so much money involved. Coaches make so much. Conferences say it makes so much. Is it worth the risk? There's enough players to go around. It's now a quarterback-led sport. There's enough quarterbacks to go around. You get one. You've got one. You'll win games. But if somebody wants to lack ethics, there's not much you can do. There's never really been much you can do. With all these coaches around, I ask all of them about paying players. Sometimes when you're a radio host, like one of the complaints I hear about sports radio hosts and political radio hosts, they never admit when they're wrong. Well, sometimes are you wrong, or do you just change your opinion because there's new information? I'll give you an example. You would never want your stockbroker to keep a stock if there were massive changes in a company's corporate structure. Changes you didn't like. You'd want your stockbroker to call you up and say, sell the stock. If your son or daughter was going to a hospital, you would want all the available information, even if it was different than 6 months or a year ago medically. But fans sometimes want their sportscasters to never change an opinion, even when there's new information. I've never been a pay the players guy. But I do think increasingly, if you look at the Longhorn Network that paid Texas $200 million, if you look at the record Big Ten network revenues, if you look at the digital TV and radio college football playoff revenues. Increasingly, football is making so much money, and there are revenue streams that exist now that didn't 5 years ago. I think it's reasonable to give a stipend to some football players. I never liked the inflammatory language. I don't think it's extorting players. If so, extort my kids to Stanford, please. I don't think it rivals slavery. A lot of people in the media like to bring that up to compare it to bad stuff. Nothing really compares to slavery. Can we stop that? The reality is, some of these athletes don't even qualify for the colleges they get free education in. But we now have massive revenue streams in every of the major 5 conference, each one, that we did not have 3 years ago. And those numbers are only going up. The Big Ten contract is up, and 6 networks will bid on that. It will be record revenues once again for the Big Ten. I just read a story this weekend. There's additional $50 million going to each conference based on a playoff check. So I think we've reached a point where, all right, new revenue streams, new money. Jay Billis was on SportsCenter this morning. There now is enough money. When Washington State, where I grew up, in the Palouse, in the sparsely populated Pullman, Washington region, can build a $130 million football structure, athletic structure, there's enough money for everybody. Because if they've got the kind of money to finance that, then everybody's got the money to finance that. Jay Billis on SportsCenter this morning.
Administrators are going to make millions of dollars, and the commissioner of the Big 12 is going to make $1.8 million a year. Or coaches are going to make $7, $9 million. Offensive coordinators are going to make millions of dollars. They don't seem to have a problem with that. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. The idea that an athlete getting more is going to put the entire enterprise at risk is laughably absurd.
Yeah, things have changed. Even Nick Saban, never really in favor of paying the players, says, yeah, the stipend now, why not?
Other people in other professions, whether it's medical school or whatever, you know, they get a couple grand extra, 2 or 3, whatever the cost of education is for incidental expenses. And I think that to do that for players, I think we need to keep the college model. They're amateur players, and they're there to get an education and develop as people and to develop careers. But I think to make their quality of life a little bit better in the amateur status, which cost of education is something that engineering students and other people get, would be pretty easy to do without sort of creating some kind of professional status.
Donnie, you're in the herd on ESPN Radio. Donnie, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Colin? Thanks for having me again, as I've called in before, so I love your show.
Thanks.
But I'm an advisor at a college, and I just think you're throwing bad money at worse money when you're letting guys into college that are in over their heads anyway. Like, what good does that education do those guys if they aren't built for it anyway? You know what I mean?
Well, Donnie, most people don't have financial acumen. The savings rate in America is pathetically low. So most people aren't prepared to be paid. NBA kids spend a year in college, go to the NBA. 71% are broke, 5 years out of the league. You can't not pay somebody because they don't deal with money well. Who does? Wall Street went bankrupt 5 years ago, and they're money managers. Steve Spurrier. Good to see the ball coach again. Coach, see you quote me at press conferences. I love that. Steve Spurrier coming up next, one of my favorites. If you don't have a will, the court could dictate what happens to your property or your minor children. You wouldn't want to let that happen. National Make-A-Will Month. Call or visit LegalZoom today. Special pricing, wills and living trust. Been helping people protect families for over 13 years. Painless. Go to LegalZoom.com. This is what they do. Details top to bottom. And enter Colin in the referral box to save more. Protect your family and future at LegalZoom.com. Providing legal help through independent attorneys and self-help, but they're not a law firm. LegalZoom.com. Steve Spurrier next. Well, he's one of my favorite guys. And he is even quoted us from time to time in his press conferences, which we always love. It's Steve Spurrier, who I covered at Florida. I was just a young pup. And you were getting Tennessee all riled up down there. And I love having you in. I had Saban in earlier. He's complaining about that no-huddle stuff. He doesn't like it. You offensive guys, you like that no-huddle stuff, don't you?
Well, we no-huddle, Colin, but we don't go real fast all the time. Sometimes we go up there and snap it real fast if the defense doesn't get set. Then the next time we may come up there and act like we're snapping it real fast, try to see what they're doing. And if they don't change around, then we'll audible to a play that we feel's got a pretty good chance. And again, that pass offense, it's good. But sometimes you get ahead, you want to run that clock and win the game. So we've been fortunate to make a lot of third downs and sometimes a lot of fourth downs and just stay on the field, and that keeps that fast-paced offense over there watching.
Nick brought up a really interesting point, though. He said, listen, in the NFL, they'll let you go no huddle, but they'll hold the ball for about 3 seconds so the officials can get. He goes, we've been in games with fast teams, and they're doing illegal motion, and the referees aren't in the right spot. Is 80 plays maybe a bit too much for a college officiating crew? Can you slow it down a tad? Could it get too fast? I thought it was an interesting point.
Well, sometimes these NFL teams have 80 plays if they're throwing all the time. If you throw incomplete, and that clock stops also. But I think 80 plays is, if you can get that many in, it's not bad. The key again though is you got to stop the other guy. You got to stop him. You stop him, and your offense stay out there, then you got a pretty good chance.
It's interesting. You were a great player, and you transitioned into a coach. Most coaches aren't great players. You have a very unique perspective from great player, Heisman level, great coach. You always have had a strong opinion. So you maybe were ahead of the curve, but the modern player, he comes in, he used to listen to his coach. Modern player now comes in, hey, I want to play this position. I don't want to play that position. How do you deal with the modern player? Is it sometimes annoying? They're empowered now. They've got a Twitter account. They can talk to this guy, talk to that guy. Do you like some of that stuff?
Colin, I hadn't heard that in a while because I was fortunate enough to win the Heisman, like you said, and this, that, and the other, and played 10 years in pro ball. But I think being a backup quarterback, that's basically what I was 8 of the 10 years, maybe helped me to be a coach because I was standing on the sideline right next to the coach watching the game. And I was always looking for stuff the defense was doing. And Brody would come off the field. Sometimes we'd talk about what may be there, what played. And so
John
forth.
Brody.
But I can assure people everything I learned about coaching occurred after I became a coach. They always ask me, what coach did you try to copy or this, that, and the other? And I said, really not anybody in particular in football. I've always said Coach John Wooden's philosophy of coaching, I really admire all of his sayings and mottos and so forth. So he'd be my favorite coach. But it is interesting that guys who've been really, really good players have not been good coaches. And the coaches now are guys, some of them didn't even play football.
That's right.
They didn't even play. They just know how to treat people, love them up. And, you got to yell at them a little bit, but you got to love them up a lot, too. And for these new guys that come in and want this, that, and the other, they've just got to learn maybe when your turn comes and when you beat out the other guy, that's when you're going to get the playing time. We generally let every player pick what position he wants to play.
You do.
But after that, hey, if you're third team over here and Mike could be second or first over there, you need to change positions. Our job is to get the best players on the field for the most plays during the course of the game. So hopefully everyone will accept that philosophy right there.
Jadeveon Clowney may have been the best high school football player on the defensive side ever. You had Jadeveon Clowney. But, again, front page USA Today, all over ESPN. By the time you got him, he was already a star. You handled it well, but it's not easy. I mean, his last year in, sometimes it looked like he'd sort of kind of decided, I'm going to play NFL football. Did you ever sit down with him? Did you ever have to sit down and go, listen, we know you can play in the NFL, but you got to handle your business here for 3 years?
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit here and there and the other, but you got to understand his situation. And it probably took me about the third or fourth game before I told myself, hey, wait a minute. Jadeveon Clowney is in the most unusual situation of any player who's ever played college football. He didn't have to play. Remember? They all said, well, he shouldn't even play. He might get hurt and blow all this money. I think he signed for $22 million over 3 or 4 years. And because he's going to be the first pick. So he didn't even have to play. So he graciously, I want to play for South Carolina. I want to help my team have a big year. And I finally got in my brain, you know what? He's pretty much right. We got to treat him a little different and make sure we keep him healthy. And if he's hurt a bit, he doesn't need to be out there playing. So he only missed 2 games, and those were games that we were sort of favored pretty good. But he had a good season for us. And when we beat Wisconsin in that Capital One Bowl to go 11-2, and he had a good game. He had a whole bunch of tackles, knocked down some passes. We were all happy, but he was very happy because he had a good season, and he was healthy. And now he's ready to go train for the Combine, and he did a super job running that 4.4, answered all the questions, I think, the right way. So everybody's happy right now, and Jadeveon was a fantastic player for us.
Steve Spurrier, the Herd on ESPN Radio. You used to throw your visor a lot more. You don't throw it as much.
No, I hadn't thrown it really since about 92, 93.
Well,
I wear a headset all the time now. So if you got your headset over your visor, you got to take your headset off and then your visor, and by that time I ain't gonna throw my visor over there. And another thing, Colin, now the camera's always on the head coach over there. It's always. And every now and then I have to tell one of my assistant coaches, hey, the camera's on you. Quit acting like an idiot. Calm down, the camera's on you. So
it's so true.
Yeah.
When you go, you are American royalty in the South, and it's, although all SEC coaches are big names, you're at a different level. You still like recruiting? You like going into the homes? You don't have to do it as much.
It's really a lot easier for college coaches. Our assistant coaches are really good. I have an excellent staff there all the way down the line. And they basically do the legwork of going through the high schools and this, that, and the other. And the head coach has only got one visit with the player during the course of the year. So you go to the home or go to the high school. A lot of times we go by the high school, and the parents are happy to meet us there. That way we can hit 4 or 5 players, maybe in the Atlanta area, all in one day by going by the high schools, and then maybe 1 or 2 at their homes at night there. So it is not it is not as time-consuming as it used to be, because now the head coach usually just visits with the players who've already committed. They already said, I'm coming to South Carolina. All right, so I'll visit with you in December, January there, and sort of tie up all loose ends, and away we go. But they come on campus in the summertime now, and they all come through my office.
A lot of them commit there.
Yeah, they'll commit there. Right now we got 21, 22 commitments. In fact, Rivals.com had a second in the nation the other day.
You watch?
You believe that?
Well, I do, because it's you.
Well, South Carolina, second in the nation recruiting, that's way up there for us. We're generating.
Don't mention their names. You can't mention their names now.
No, I'm not mentioning any names.
But you just
Rivals.com is the recruiting survey.
I go to it all the time. I'm kind of a weird recruit name.
So we're having a good recruiting class right now.
All right, my staff's saying you got to go. It's great seeing you. I love every time I see you. You've always been gracious with me. Say hi to your family, and I'm glad you beat Herm Edwards in Lake Tahoe at the golf tournament.
I can't brag about beating Herm, though. But Herm's a good guy. We enjoy each other's company.
Good seeing you, Coach.
All right, Colin. See ya.
All right, Steve Spurrier. You're listening to The Herd on ESPN Radio, available in the sports section on the free TuneIn Radio app. Peter King's going to stop by, some NFL stuff. Good topic with Tony Dungy earlier today that it elicited a lot of emails regarding Michael Sam. And I know there was some fatigue on the Michael Sam topic, but it was raised again yesterday by Tony Dungy, who I, to some degree, defended. When our president did not support gay marriage until 2009, when our military has struggled with it, senators, governors, 30 states have not yet passed legislation for pro-gay marriage, we should be a little more understanding that a machismo industry is right now dealing with a social issue that they will figure out and deal with more efficiently, probably in 6 months to a year. As Bill Maher said on HBO, everybody grows differently. When our highly educated president, Harvard-educated president, would not support gay marriage before 3 years ago, you can't give a 22-year-old cornerback a couple of weeks to figure it out, who comes from a deeply religious family. Take a deep breath. No need for labeling or name-calling. If our president acknowledged, quote, I've evolved recently on the topic, can't a free safety? It's The Herd on ESPN Radio. The Big 12 commissioner was sort of talking about the cheating that happened. in college football. Listen, it happens at the federal level with our taxes. You can't monitor things. People are either ethical or they're not. And I think, our government sometimes with federal cuts, the IRS is auditing fewer people. If you're going to be unethical, you'll be unethical. And I think there's cheating in college sports, and I think there always has been. But I do think the transparency of social media makes it tougher to do it and not get caught. It's called the MondayMorningQuarterback.com. It's a great new site. Been around now for about a year. Bills camp yesterday, Giants tomorrow, as they start opening up around the league. Let's bring in Peter King. Peter, when you go to these camps now, the new collective bargaining agreement, practice less pads, do practices look and feel different to you today than they did 10 years ago in July?
Oh, they really do, Colin. And, I was reminded of that. The Bills, basically the first 3 practices that they're going to have are just in, you can have, they can't have their pads on because, part of the new deal, part of the new CBA is to sort of ease players into camp, ease players into hitting and the real physical part of it. And it's a real challenge for players, I think, who are playing on the edge. Yesterday, I saw Sammy Watkins at Bills camp in Pittsford, New York, go up with 3 or 4 guys in the middle of the field. He skied. It was, it looked like he was 8 feet tall. But there was a collision between him and 3 guys. He went down. He's okay. But, you really wonder of the efficacy of the program when they're trying to keep players safe. And yet, I think in some ways it would keep them a little bit safer if they were padded earlier in practices.
Yeah. I saw Sam Farmer, L.A. Times, very good reporter. We had him on yesterday. It's not a perfect league. The Pro Bowl's at times unwatchable. The Combine's growing like crazy. There's the concussion issue. Sam Farmer brought up yesterday, if you bring L.A. into the league, it could solve a couple of issues. I've kind of buried the L.A. NFL thing. What are you hearing on L.A. and the league potentially building their own stadium out there?
I hear a tremendous amount of noise, but not a lot of action. It's been the same way for the last 5, 6, 8 years, where everybody says, Bob Kraft will stand up and say, we have to have a team in L.A. Jerry Jones will say it. There's going to be a team in L.A., all this stuff. And then there's never a team in L.A. So it's like I said, do I believe there's going to be one? Yes. But I'll believe it when I see it. It has to be one of those things because we've just heard too many false alarms in the past. Now, I still think that it makes the most sense to build it in the L.A. Live complex around Staples Center to give sort of a real urban feel to it. There's a lot of action down there. It's a great little campus down there. And I think that would be the best place for it. But I also think that in realistic terms, with everything that's going to happen, Colin, with everything that has to happen, I believe this is probably, at the end of the day, I'd say a $4 to $5 billion venture. When you think of the stadium, which is not going to get a lot of state and federal support in terms of funding, and you think of the cost of a franchise and put the team together. So how many people in America right now? I think there are 33 people in America who are worth $5 billion or more. So who's going to do it? Or is it going to be a team of people who combine to do that? But every year they wait, the cost gets higher. So, again, I'll believe it when I see it.
We live in a country where even our progressive president, until 3 years ago, had an evolving opinion on gay marriage. Our military has struggled with it. 10 years ago, you couldn't find a governor or a senator outside of perhaps an Oregon or a Vermont that would publicly support gay marriage. It is an issue, sadly, that we have been slow to acknowledge and offer full support. 30 states in this country with gay marriage aren't comfortable yet passing legislation. Tony Dungy makes a comment. He's a very religiously convicted gentleman. He's getting criticized. Did he cross a line for you?
No, because I know that that's how Tony Dungy feels. Tony Dungy is a if Tony Dungy is a very religious man, he believes in the letter of the law with the Bible, and he's very, he's profoundly religious, and I just believe that whether or not he's going to get in hot water, which obviously he is over this issue. I think Tony Dungy just takes that. And again, I tried talking to Tony last night, and he said he was probably, he was discussing with people at NBC whether he was going to say something. He never got back to me, but I doubt he's probably going to clarify his remarks, I would think, at some point, but I don't believe that he really is ever going to say, I just don't think he's ever going to say, I support gay marriage. I don't view that as something that he would be flexible on.
Speaking of inflexibility, Dan Snyder in Washington, do you think they'll ever change their team name?
I said in my column this week, Colin, that I think it'll be changed by 2016. It's just an opinion. I have no hard facts. I have nothing to back that up. It's just, at some point, you really have to ask yourself, do we want this constant, ceaseless distraction around our team? Now, you could also say that if you do change the name, that he's going to have a lot of fans who are going to say, who are going to be extremely angry. But I just think that the groundswell is really starting to become a distraction for this team. They can say whatever they want. I think Bruce Allen, president of the team, spent a lot of time this offseason worrying about this, formulating plans, and formulating a sort of a doctrine about this foundation that they have, that they now are running to funnel some money to Native American causes. It's just, how much do you want to do that takes away from what your mission is? Your mission is to try to win the Super Bowl. Why is the general manager doing stuff about what the nickname of the team is? It's just, I think it's a waste of time.
Who's your most interesting team, Peter, in the preseason this year?
I would say the Carolina Panthers, because of all the massive changes. They're going to have a new right tackle. They're going to have a new franchise receiver to replace Steve Smith, if indeed they can develop one. Their receivers are all new. Their quarterback isn't going to be able to work with the receivers at full speed probably till August. I just think there are so many changes. The case of Greg Hardy, what's going to happen to him? Will he be suspended? Is this his last year for a great pass rusher in Carolina? Will they lose him like they lost Julius Peppers? It's just, I think there's a lot of really interesting things to focus on when you talk about the Carolina Panthers.
MMQB.com, the Monday Morning Quarterback.com.
And Colin, this is our 1-year birthday today. Wish us a happy birthday.
Well, I felt it was a year. So today, are you guys drinking a lot today? Cork champagne?
I'm drinking a coffee right now. What do you think of that?
Well, you're Peter King. You do drink coffee. I would expect nothing less from you. Hopefully it's Pete's coffee.
Oh, it's a nice iced coffee from Starbucks this morning, but thank you.
Little plug. Congratulations on your venture, by the way.
Hey, thank you, Colin. Really appreciate it. It's been a year of rollicking fun, and we look forward to many more.
The MondayMorningQuarterback.com. Peter King. Thanks, man.
Take care, Colin.
It's good. Read it regularly. Got a Mike Holmgren piece on the reluctant retirement of Mike Holmgren that was really good, very thoughtful. So I love to see guys get out there and create new ventures. Good for him. It's a good-looking sight. It is. Good-looking sight. All right. My NFL predictions, very fired up about that. You know what? I don't really care if anybody else liked him. I loved him. I really did. I really enjoyed him. I don't know if John did or Vince did, but I loved him. Yeah, big celebration for those. The Herd on ESPN Radio. The ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with a Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. Nobody's saying Tony Dungy is right. but when you have our military, major federal branches slower to evolve on social issues, some states, southern states, slower to evolve on social issues, I'm not outraged by a coach, Tony Dungy, a strongly convicted Christian man, saying that Michael Sam would have been tough to draft because he would have been seen as a distraction. Well, that's why everybody in the league except the Rams passed on him until the 7th round. Everybody thought what Tony Dungy said in the league. Most coaches thought about it. Marginal player, distraction. Doesn't mean a coach is against it, but you're dealing with a locker room of 21 to 26-year-old men, most who are not brilliantly evolved. So, I just think everybody evolves at a different pace, and I don't think it's right. I've said this for a decade on this radio network. I don't know why people struggle with gay Americans. I don't get it. But I didn't grow up reading Bible verses. So, for me, it's a very seamless transition into historically traditional marriage into gay marriage. I don't struggle religiously. I didn't grow up reading a doctrine. I think for those who did, it can be tougher. Or maybe it's not. But, I think everybody to some degree, I think even in Hollywood, they have for years hidden or suppressed information on many of their male movie stars who are gay. Are they anti-gay? No, it could hurt the bottom line from the ticket-buying consumer base in the Midwest and in the South. So Los Angeles, West Hollywood, as liberal and progressive as America gets in any jurisdiction, has often suppressed information. Rock Hudson. They didn't have a problem with rock, but they thought their audiences may. Well, if you were really in full support of it, then why wouldn't you just announce it and not worry about the finances of it and the branding of it and the commercial success of it? So this is currently a social issue, state to state, jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and some people are evolving slower than others on it. But you're not me and I'm not you. And so, I've grown up with somebody gay in the family. My favorite college professor was gay, had gay friends, go to L.A. and New York a lot, pretty liberal areas. I just don't think anything about it. I work with gay people, don't think anything of it, and didn't grow up with any religious preference. Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, Peter King will all on our show today. Made the NFL predictions. Maybe I was seeing something. Was it me last night? I was watching highlights on a couple different networks, baseball highlights. And I often watch like a Baseball Tonight or the MLB Network just to get highlights. Were the crowds bigger than normal last night? Was there a big event in baseball last night? It seemed to me the crowds were big last. Like roll a highlight right now. Give me the Yankees-Rangers. What was the Yankee crowd last night? It looked enormous. Now, I'm not talking tickets sold. I'm talking people in the seats. I was watching, turned it on, and Jeter bounced into a double play. What was the – now that's – okay, so that's the paid attendance. A lot of stadiums say. But Yankee Stadium looked really full to me last night. Just put up one of the highlights. Put up any game last night. Maybe I'm wrong. How about Reds? No, go Marlins Braves. Go Marlins Braves highlights. Do they have any highlights there? I want to see it. It just seemed weird to me. Like every highlight I was watching on television, their announced attendance was 26. That's not bad in the South during the summer, July, sitting outside for 3 hours. That's not bad. I've been to 2 Braves games at the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. In fact, the last game I went to with the Braves was at the old stadium, and I literally sat in right field with a buddy, and the sun missed all of us, literally except our seats. We had the worst seats in the stadium, and it was like weight loss for 6 innings. All right, 2 for the road.
Here's one for the road.
You think we need one more?
Better make it 2.
All right, we'll get one more.
2 for the road. In the herd.
A new study in the journal Open Medicine has revealed a little-known germ hotspot, the hospital elevator button. The research conducted by 3 physicians compared the amount of bacteria living on the 120 elevator buttons to 96 toilet seats. The elevator buttons were worse. Gross. And we already know that a sedentary lifestyle probably not great for your health. We know that. But can we measure just how bad it really is for us? A new study offers an answer. 2 hours of sitting cancels out the benefits of 20 minutes of exercise for fitness levels. Yes, the study published online in the July 8th Mayo Clinic proceedings found that sitting for just 20 minutes cancels out exercise. Man, I am going to host my show standing from this point forward. You can listen to our Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, Peter King interviews online. We'll archive it. Tony Dungy story, NFL wins and losses. Can we post those for all the peeps? Right now, it'll be in the podcast and we can post it. My show, You Heard Me, will be on later this afternoon. 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific on ESPN2. You heard me, and I'm going to do a Cage Confessional with Nick Saban. If you've not seen the Cage Confessionals, look them up on YouTube. Pretty lighthearted. Nick Saban gets it. We'll see you tomorrow. It's The Herd.